We're live. Ladies and gentlemen, we're live. Now we're going to transition smoothly. There we go. We've transitioned, ladies and gentlemen. We're there. We're live now. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to episode 2. It's episode 2 already. Can you believe it, ladies and gentlemen? Episode 2 of Generation X. And what a show we've got for you today. It's good to see the old Dave. Welcome. Just you today, Dave, I think. Just come to see us, yeah? Anybody else in the chat? Apart from us, of course.
We built it, they will come.
They will come. Of course they'll come. It's the Generation X Gaming Club. They just take a little bit longer to get there.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Not as sprightly as I used to be, you know.
Well, welcome to Generation X Gaming Club, everybody. If you don't already know. Dazadini, lovely to see you. I'm Clive Illingdon. You can see me on my Twitter down below and the YouTube down below. And this to my screen right, I want to say. Screen right. I'm not sure.
Well, right.
Well, yeah, screen right.
Yes. It's me. It's Rock.
Rock.
It's nobody puts Rock in a box.
I put Rock in a box.
He did.
So coming up today, I hope you're all well, everybody in the chat. I hope everybody's chat. Hello, Mariko. Who's that to? Is that to me? Of course it is. Lovely to see you here. We've got a very interesting show. Having a break from losing at PUBG. Yeah, Dazadini. I lost, and yet I was ashamed of losing because I just couldn't believe how many people were just standing around in the open. I was unfortunately shot point blank with a shotgun. But if I hadn't been shot, I would have had them all because they were just wandering around like idiots. That's my excuse. But anyway, we're not here to talk. Well, we'll touch on PUBG actually a little bit later. But welcome, as I say, second episode of Generation X Gaming Club, where we'll be looking at all the news, views, and happenings in the world of gaming from the Generation X perspective.
Yes.
And in the news this week, The Last of Us Part 2 gets a release date. Tencent takes a massive cloud streaming step inside China. Nintendo accounts have been compromised. Cyberpunk 2077 reveal announced. And Fortnite finally caves to Google. But more on that all later. First of all, of course, Adam, what have you been playing mostly this week?
Oh, as usual, Clive, I have been playing too much of everything. So I've been playing Division 2. I've been playing... I picked up Guilt again. Did a little bit more of that.
I saw you playing Guilt. I did see it flash up there.
Well, I keep trying to get to the end, and then it takes me to another place. So I'm doing that one in little chunks. Yes. It's a bit of breakpoint.
Okay, no spoilers. No, sorry, I was going to say something about Guilt. No spoilers.
Well, yeah. I'm expecting I'm going to feel guilty. Destiny 2, bit of Destiny 2. I know you've been playing a lot of Destiny 2 as well.
I have been playing Destiny 2. Yeah.
You know, I even fired up my PS4 yesterday for the first time in I can't remember how long. And the first thing that popped up was Death Stranding. And I thought, I love that game.
Yeah.
I was quite keen to play it a bit more, actually. I may do some more Death Stranding. It was a cracking game.
Is there an ending to it?
Is there an ending to it?
Yeah.
Oh, there's an amazing ending. Yeah, no spoilers. It's
but
incredibly moving, very satisfying conclusion. I mean, it's all very weird and Japanesey.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful game. I really, really hope it does eventually make its way to Stadia, because I think it would just benefit from that. It's a massive game, but there's so much to it.
I think it was, but it was a sort of PlayStation exclusive, wasn't it?
Yes, although they just released it on PC recently.
I think Sony are relaxing a bit about that.
Yeah,
those aspects of it. That's quite interesting. For me, then, Doom Eternal, which I'm enjoying. Like early on, I sort of thought, no, even on a kind of easy level, I'm finding this really difficult. But then you get the hang of it with Doom Eternal. What weapons to use? Just keep moving, killing. That and then the platforming element is really quite frustrating in a proper platforming game. It's like, oh no, missed the jump, and it's all that kind of button patterns, A B A, get the pattern right, so swing across, jump off across, grab. It's Once you get in the rhythm, it's pretty cool, and I've been really enjoying that. So that's been pretty good. And as I say, lots of Destiny 2 because the GF, it's the game that she plays all the time. So now we're in that kind of competitive mode where every time we go on, she goes, "Oh, you're 971, are you?" And I go, "Yeah, yeah." And then so she'll go and have a little secret play, and then I'll come back and go, "Wait a minute, are you 972?" Oh, that's outrageous. Were you playing behind my back?
I'm only 963.
So then I'll go and have a play, and then she'll come back and go, "Hey, wait a minute, are you 974?" And then we play together, and it's quite fun. I mean, it's been a lot of fun actually, but that's
What do you
partly
think
why
of
we
this
play.
new? What do you think of the new Olympics? Their new kind of gaming.
I can't get it. I don't quite understand what I'm meant to do.
Oh,
Am I meant to wear one of those cloaks
yeah. Well, I bought one, but I don't know that it has any. I don't know if
and
there's
then
any
play in a
reason
game?
for it. Well, all I found is quests and stuff.
Okay.
And you go around the various usual thing. You go around the various vendors, and they all have a little something they want you to do.
I haven't found any of that. It's not.
Oh, that's it. Oh, okay.
That's
Well,
the
we're
thing
gonna
about
have to
Destiny
play
2.
together.
It can be quite confusing.
It can be, and I've said this before. Did you play before it was on Stadia?
Yeah, I played it very early doors.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah,
So I think people that came to the game on Stadia have struggled because the whole
and
new
on
light
Xbox.
premise of just do what you want,
Yeah,
fill your boots. It's too big a game and too complex. Not complex isn't the right word. Convoluted to just be able to go in and it was easier if you had a set path.
yeah.
So
That's what I liked about it initially,
yeah,
but now and some of the stories you sort of seem to play out of sequence, and then you end up playing the same chapters again for some
yeah,
reason, and some of it doesn't make sense because you played it all out of sequence somehow.
exactly.
Because you've got the different seasons,
Hmm.
and like, well, that guy's dead, so how come we're playing in this? Anyway.
I know. And that's the problem. You and I know that because we've played it
Mm.
previously and we've gone down that linear path when it all made sense. But this is why I think a lot of people fell out of love with it quite quickly on Stadia that hadn't played it before because it doesn't have that restriction and
No,
constriction that makes you
it,
realize what you're doing.
but it's got
So
that element that people like, the real grind to it.
yes,
People love that. You
hamster
just
wheel stuff.
grind and get all the things, and you can go really deep into it. I've seen people make sure they get all their bounties and level up, and other people who just sort of just play very like at the skim the surface, play the stories, do the rumbles in the Crucible,
Yeah.
and that's kind of it. Yeah.
Yeah, they brought a professor in very early in the game's development who's a big consultant in Vegas, and he's basically written the book on how people gamble and how you keep them coming back to the slot machines and so on. And he
Yeah.
wrote a huge thesis for Bungie
All
on
right.
yeah, so it's got a lot of those elements in the whole kind of dopamine fix
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Classic gaming. It's a bit like
Yeah,
Fortnite. It's full of
it
that.
is now
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. No,
It
that's
wasn't like
interesting.
that in our day, Clive.
No, no, it wasn't that advanced anyway. And I did play a little bit of PUBG, and then I had a very amusing time when I had to walk the GF through how to change the character or anything, because the front end of PUBG is a dog. And that's because of the way it was developed. It wasn't developed by sort of a proper development team with a design sense or anything like that. It was basically a mod of an existing game, and then it's just been built on and built on and built on. And so it doesn't have that kind of slick front, easy sort of navigatable design at the front, user sort of
Yeah.
HUD, as they call it at the front and stuff. But once you get into it, it's fine. It's a lot of fun. That play it like I do. Hide as much as you can.
That's how I play all games.
Yeah, yeah. So I've been playing a bit about that. So before we get on to the main news, I think one of the that we've got listed here, of course, we had the Stadia Connect today, and I know this. We are, of course, not a Stadia, a Stadia channel per se. We're about gaming in general, but I think there were some announcements made today, which are large enough to sort of penetrate the mainstream news. At Stadia Connect. It was very exciting. And I think the big thing there is that EA as we knew, they were the Stadia Connect last year. The EA logo was on that list of publishers' logos in the back, but we've not really heard much about them. But
No.
big announcement today: the big returning tentpole games, as they are, of EA publishing, the FIFA and the Madden, are coming to Stadia, which I think is enormous. Jedi Fallen is coming, so I mean that's massive. What do you think?
Oh, it's huge. It's, I mean, it's interesting because you were independently hearing people say, "Oh, I'd like to get Jedi," or "I'd like to get Madden."
Yeah.
Oh, well, we're not, you know, or "I'd love to have FIFA." But I don't think anybody thought for 1 minute they were going to get the trio. You know, talk about a hat trick. I know it's a bit of a shame you've got to wait until.
You can't see me with my hand up.
No, I can't.
Yeah.
It's what your hands up that worries
I
me.
did. I said, I think on Monday night, I did say that EA won't drop feed the games here and there. Once EA are on board and they see it as a viable platform to release their games on, they're in. And
Yes.
somebody said, well, what's in it for EA, with Stadia at the moment? Well, the point is there is a limited number of PC players. Yeah, you release your FIFA and your Madden every year. There is a limited number of PC players. There is a limited number of PlayStation players. There is a limited number of Xbox players. And every year you release your title, you'll hit the same targets. Every year. Where's your growth? Where's the growth?
Yeah.
A new console, which is what Stadia effectively is, comes onto the market. And people have to buy those games again for that particular, not even again, new players. Basically, it's opening up a whole new market for EA that wasn't there before. So it gives them growth in their publishing numbers, in the sales that they make. So that is why EA are on board, because otherwise you're just selling the same games to the same people on the same platform, and there's no genuine market growth. Whereas a new console comes on that's going to be popular, as we know, you get on there. And then the other thing was the simplicity of the marketing message that Phil Harrison said at the beginning. Here's what Stadia is. Stadia Pro, you get loads of free games with Stadia Pro, or you just have Stadia and you buy the games you want to play and you keep the games you want to play, but it's free to play. That was it. Simple message. No teraflops or anything like that, because that message wasn't aimed at the early adopters, the gaming community per se, the hardcore gaming community, the tech community. That message was aimed specifically at the sort of consumer market. When people go, "What is Stadia?" That's what it is.
Yeah.
There's Stadia and Stadia Pro.
So I think, I mean, we said this again a few days ago. This was the launch pad now for Stadia Free. So what we saw there was the artwork and the art pack and the coming campaigns that'll be rolled out in lots of other places.
Yeah.
So we saw that first glimpse there. You're absolutely right. You
that
picked
graphic,
it up
2-layered graphic. They had like a
two-layered
bit of
graphic. Yeah, very simple message, straight to the jugular. We'll start seeing that rolled out across a whole load of different channels now. And that's great. That's what we've been saying, and it's perfect. And as you've rightly said, moving away from the K's and the T's and the P's.
It's not needed.
So that was a good shout. The other thing that was interesting as well in there was, for the first time, we got a glimpse of games that have largely come about because of input from Stadia. So we saw the Crater game,
yeah,
which looks really good actually, and I think that's got a huge amount of potential. But of course, we then popped along in our stream and had a look at their website. In their news, it said back in October of last year, which of course was a month prior to the launch of Stadia, and it literally was, I think, almost to the day. They'd just done a deal and got $5 million under the Stadia Makers project. So that's interesting in many ways. I mean, not least of which,
one of Stadia's first sort of development investments. Yeah.
Well, it's a couple of things. Firstly, it's the first time I'm certainly aware of any developer announcing anything financially. Now, the thing is, that's been there as a news item since last October, and nobody spotted it. Yeah,
not
not one of us.
Yeah.
And the whole thing about the Business Insider article that said, "Oh, they don't help. They don't work with
Yeah, they don't
independent.
help. They don't help. Yeah, the indies, the
$5
small
million
developers, they're
worth of
very
help is
unfriendly.
right there."
Other than giving £5 million. If you've got a crap game, they're unfriendly, mate. Clearly, if you've
Yeah,
got an interesting project,
yeah.
they'll back you, and I think
Cool.
that demonstrated it. But anyway, so let's not, that's we can
Move
save
on.
all the Stadia chat for our Stadia channels and everything. But that's um, quite interesting, and we know we've got more news coming in June, which I think will be more games, more confirmation of games. I don't think we'll get hardware updates. They'll just be incremental and happen as and when. That's the way that Stadia does it. The key thing is game announcements and publisher deals and stuff like that.
We may get some feature updates this Thursday, first
Yeah,
of May. The
yeah.
community, we'll see. But
But I'm just thinking not at the next Connect in
no,
June.
no. I don't think that's the thing for Connect.
More details around some of the EA titles and the other
Yeah,
games. But and of course PUBG, of course, I mentioned that, which is the
and
big
UK
battle
Plus.
royale, of course. So yeah. Anyway, so we thought we'd just launch on that. Let's get to the first news item of the day, which requires me to do some things behind the scenes to make sure we're on the right place. And here we go. So the first news item here. So The Last of Us.
Yeah.
So The Last of Us. Yeah. So you've played The Last of Us here, but so basically the headline here is they've announced the release of The Last of Us Part 2 now will be released on June the 19th. So there was a rumor that actually wasn't going to happen at all a little while ago when they said, because they said we're having to delay this, but we don't know until when. And so people were going, oh my God, this might not happen at all. Or it won't happen until like November or maybe even next year. Because originally it was scheduled for release on May the 29th. And now they've come back and said, oh, it's going to be available on June the 19th. So effectively only 3 weeks late.
Didn't they also say this was going to be a PlayStation 5 release, so that it would probably have been a game that went out with the first packs, the first boxes, on the basis that it required the increased hardware in order to run the game? So it's quite interesting. I mean, we know why they're releasing it now, and I think it may have been held back, if not, and that was because there was a disgruntled employee. Naughty Dog, the developer behind Last of Us, and Nathan Drake and a few other games, they're sort of renowned in the industry, or they built a renown.
They have a massive reputation, Naughty Dog, yeah.
For crunch, which is the term.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, used for pushing your employees or developers specifically to the nth degree to deliver a game, and it becomes a culture. And I know that Jason Schreier, ex of Kotaku, I noticed recently he's now working over at Bloomberg. But Jason Schreier wrote quite a scathing piece on Naughty Dog and how they crunched their team. And I think this was kind of, if you squeeze hard enough, you're going to get someone at the very end do what these guys did, and that was they basically leaked the entire story.
There's a lot of pressure on developers to hit
targets,
hit the windows, because as it's a PlayStation exclusive, so PlayStation basically putting millions and millions of pounds into marketing money. All that advertising space would have been booked. That's the way it works, and hence you create that culture of crunch. Because inevitably developers overpromise and underdeliver, and part of that is the time.
And everybody knows the Naughty Dog stuff tends to be, that league ahead. They seem to lead in terms of whatever games they bring forth, seem to always just go another league above everybody else's. So there's a huge expectation on them. But sadly, somebody did leak it, and
so I didn't. I mean, I saw that today. I haven't added to the news, but you want to talk about the leaks? Spoil sports.
Well, I mean, I've avoided them. It's I haven't seen anything. I don't know that I would be particularly upset, though. I don't. Stories are important to me, but I'm not a massive story. I'm not a book reader per se. But no, I know a lot of people are quite upset because
it's a bit annoying generally. I think
Of course, it is. Well, it's unprofessional, and even people like Jason Schreier have come forward and said, I get that you're really unhappy, and for all the above reasons, but you're undermining what all your colleagues have worked so hard to produce.
On that point, Naughty Dog released a message from the studio,
Mm.
and they said, "We know the last few days have been incredibly difficult for you. We feel the same. It's disappointing to see the release and sharing of pre-release footage from development. Do your best to avoid spoilers, and we ask that you don't spoil it for others. The Last of Us Part 2 will be in your hands soon. No matter what you see and hear, the final experience will be worth it." So the fact they tweeted that as well, I'm quite right. I mean,
absolutely. At the end of the day, it's their baby. They've been working on this for how many years? And it's just not the professional thing to do. I hope it's a lesson, really, for the industry. Don't do this kind of thing. It's unfair. If you've got a problem, there's other channels, but not least of which you leave. But certainly, that's a shame. That's
don't share. Don't read the spoilers if you've got PlayStation. Don't do that. I'm just going to quickly go before we go to the next story. Have a quick look at chat here.
Mm-hmm.
Dave Windle saying he'll be playing FIFA day one. I'll give Jedi a go. I've never played FIFA. I was a Pro Evo player, really, rather than a FIFA one, because that used to be the better of the games. Even though FIFA had all the money and all the licensing, Pro Evolution was the one sort of football gamers.
The gamers game.
Yeah, for football. Yeah. The gamers footballers game. Yeah, that makes sense. Less so now, but back in the day I used to Pro Evolution 11 or whatever it was.
Is it still going, Clive? It's
still going. Don't worry about that. It's still playing. Yeah. They just the joke was they never had the licenses.
Oh right.
But you're not buying it for the license, but people do buy it for the licenses. So you had Merseyside City. They have got more licenses
nothing wrong with
now.
Merseyside City.
Yeah, but that's who you played for, and it happened to be basically effectively Liverpool Football Club. But they've got more licenses now and stuff. But the FIFA gameplay's really good now as well. So, as I understand it, not that I play it, but anyway, there you go. So.
It's just good news all round, isn't it? We've got some of the big hitting top 5 games in the world coming to Stadia. It just silences the old, I would do, but you don't have X, Y, and Z.
Well, you come Christmas.
Mm.
Kids who play, some people just play dominate one. We play a whole variety of games, but some people just play 1 or 2 games, relentlessly.
Fortnite forever.
Yeah, Fortnite. Yeah, exactly. FIFA is one of those.
Yeah, it is.
So little Johnny, as I said, you're going to spend 300 quid on a console, or buy FIFA for 50, 60 quid, and Stadia Pro, which you'll get for free for 2 months probably, or even a month, and then you've got a virtual console for free, and little Johnny can play FIFA to his heart's content, and it's cost you 50 quid for FIFA, and that's it.
And what we know is
the loot boxes.
You obviously there would be no point in launching Madden and FIFA mid-season because, as you said earlier, everyone that's into it has already bought it. Yeah. They're unlikely to buy it mid-season on another platform. So you launch as they are at the beginning of the next season when the game's brand new and spanking and fresh, and then you're more likely to buy it on Stadia than to have bought it on your old console or your PC.
Dazzadini here just says in Pro Evo, Manchester red and blue. Yeah, Manchester red. Yeah, Manchester blue. Yeah.
Instead of Man City and Man United.
Yeah.
Why not?
They are. I think they've got the names now. They can use the names. They couldn't actually use the name. Not even the strip was the issue. The fact they couldn't use the names because FIFA had them, had licensed them. Anyway, right. Next up, if I can do this, let's close that window. Oh, what I've got to do before I do that is, let's just go here. Transition. Right, put us in there, and while I sort out behind the scenes, you don't want to see behind the curtain.
No,
it's like the Wizard of Oz. Too late. They've seen behind the curtain. Away. Right, next one here.
Now, bearing in mind, I'm a short delay behind you, so if you can let me know when
I
you've got it
will.
all.
I'll let you know when we're there.
Yeah.
I've just got to go
It
back to
takes
the
a bit of time
studio.
at
It
our
does. It
age.
does. It does. Transition. There we go. Right. So
Are we there?
next is this about the cloud gaming market in China.
Yes.
Take it away, Adam.
Yeah, well, this is actually one of those stories that most people probably have overlooked, and yet I know when you and I have talked about it, it's a fascinating story. So Tencent, who are just absolutely massive in gaming and entertainment generally in China, one of China's largest companies. I believe I'm right in saying, didn't they buy a chunk of Bungie recently? I said this, and I think
They
I
bought
think
lots of things.
I think Brian at Stadia Arcadia put me right, and it actually wasn't them. So I'll retract that instantly. But
Okay.
certainly they bought a lot. And one of the things that they've done recently, according to this article, and they've concluded some deals this week, is they now are the majority shareholder of all the Twitch, YouTube like streaming
Yeah.
game services in China. So
Hoya.
they completely own that
That's what it's
market
called.
now as
Hoya.
far as China's concerned. Huya, and I think there's one
And
called Do Dog or something. I forget. Do You?
do
Do
you?
You?
Hoya and
Huya.
do you? Yeah.
Yeah, and they're quite odd when you go. I actually, I went for a walk into the land to have a look at these, and Google very kindly did some translation for me.
Yeah.
But they're all very kind of young girls all dressed up in kind of cosplay anime and
Okay.
stuff.
You sure you're putting the right thing here?
I
You're
may not
just
have
not
been.
looking at your browser history.
I may have just
Hope,
gone to one of my old bookmarks
yeah.
by.
Oh, hope you went in incognito.
Yeah, well, my heart rate went up, mate. That's all I
Yeah.
can tell you. I don't need none of your energy drinks.
It's interesting. There is a massive thing because actually, just on an aside, that there was some things in the papers where you see there's some sort of these streamers on these and Hoya and Doyu whatever, and they're these Chinese women, um, but they do incredible makeup job,
Yes,
and then with the lighting and a filter, and they look about 18, and then
right.
you see and now it's become a thing. Then you see them take the makeup off and take the filter off,
Yeah.
and they look like a completely different person. And
Wow.
it's just like, wow, that is creepy.
It's funny you should say that, Clive.
Yeah, you're about to pull off the mask like Mission Impossible or something. No, they're featured on TikTok and stuff. It was in the news. It just like because what had happened was
Wow.
there's some 40-year-old woman had been fooling all these people that she was like 19 or something like that, and it was all done with this kind of heavy makeup, pulling the skin tight with sort of tape and
Okay.
various things.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very freaky,
Well,
very
that's what they
freaky.
bought. They've bought all of that. So they've cornered that market. We were saying earlier, of course, is this an issue for the likes of Amazon and for Google and so on? And you very rightly said the thing is that it's difficult for them to break into the Chinese market anyway, not
Yeah,
just because it's a completely different culture and a completely different language, but because, of course, they have restrictions and regulations, and it's difficult to get licenses to run businesses in China or using Chinese broadband and so on. So to make that work, these companies have had to create the services. They're not necessarily lookalike services, but they
yeah,
obviously will always duplicate success.
exactly.
Um, so, would
There's a
they?
vacuum there, like that we take for granted with, even with like a Google search, which
Yeah.
the Google had to change their search engine, and I think then they withdrew it. I can't remember, but something like that, or they had to adapt it because obviously it couldn't be just a free for all because of the Chinese government restrictions,
Yes.
and YouTube as well. So those Western services have restrictions which prevent them from going out there to a
Yes.
certain degree or make it difficult for them. And then therefore Chinese companies then come and fill that vacuum, and that's what you
Mm.
get. And people like Tencent invest in those tech companies.
And I think what'll be more interesting is to see, because they'll come up. Obviously, already they've taken the corner for streaming services. So their market, as you rightly said earlier, they need to show growth. And if you already own 50 odd 1% of the market, there's not much further you can go. So you can see them spilling out into the more liberal Western countries and investing and bringing alternative services. So, if anything, I could see the bigger problem for the likes of Google and Nvidia and so on in the future Tencent that's operating within Western boundaries, Western territories, with all of the talent and assets that it can bring to that deal, undercutting prices and doing some amazing deals with publishers. So that in itself, I think, is a thing to watch more than the domination of the Chinese market, perhaps.
Yeah, well, I think the way they do is they invest in Western.
Little bits.
Yeah, Western bits.
Little bits.
Okay, so that was there. Let's the next news item here. He says, hopefully, is this. It's all about Cyberpunk. Let me transition there. So, Cyberpunk 2077 reveal planned for IGN Summer of Gaming event. So IGN are having a Summer of Gaming. It's a sort of an E3 replacement as a sort of, I believe. Originally, of course, we all know Cyberpunk was meant to be out on 16th of April. How Stadia would have looked. That's interesting. We're not here to talk about Stadia, but just interesting if that had happened. Because you would have Doom Eternal and Cyberpunk, imagine. Anyway, we know that they delayed it until September. And IGN's Summer of Gaming event is very much pitched as a digital show to replace E3 2020. Already includes a number of partners and publishers such as 2K, Square Enix, Sega, Bandai Namco, Amazon, Google Stadia, Twitter, Devolve Digital, THQ Nordic, and more. You'll notice there's no PlayStation, Xbox, because they're doing their own things.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so CD Projekt Red will be basically bringing Cyberpunk 2077 to the show in June. We don't know what that entails just yet, but we'll assume to have gameplay, that gameplay will form a large part of it. Perhaps the game's DLC plans will be announced too, as the studio has gone on record as saying that those details will be revealed before it launches in September. So we know that this has potentially got Game of the Year written all over it. So there's going to be a lot of appetite to see what CD Projekt Red brings to the IGN Summer of Gaming.
And they'll be saying, of course, go ahead, Cyberpunk, make my day.
Very good. Very good. You took all day to think that one, didn't
you?
That was terrible.
I try.
I know you try. Right, next up here is... now this looks a bit alarming here. I'm going to just transition there. There we are. You talk about Nintendo here. Confirms 160,000 accounts have been compromised.
Yeah, 160,000. And luckily not including bank details and credit card details, but pretty much everything else was nicked. And this all goes back to apparently the days of the Wii U and the Nintendo 3DS, which used a legacy logging in system, an NNID, Nintendo Network ID. But the point is, Nintendo, rather than deprecating it and replacing it, actually adapted it and have used it more recently on more recent devices, which of course is a pretty fatal thing to do, given that if it's been around that long, there's going to be some legacy code in the millions and millions of lines of code, and that's exactly what there was. So they were easily hacked, 160,000, and they took stuff like nickname, not that important, date of birth, country, region, email address, gender, enough information certainly to do identity theft, and passwords as well, so the accounts could be taken over.
That's interesting. I got a spam email,
right?
Recent, one of those saying, we know you, we've got this is your password for an account, and we know what you've been up to and all that.
Watching naughty videos and stuff. The standard thing. Send me $50 in cryptocurrency.
And the password was an old password, but it was right. Of course, I don't know which account or where it came from.
No.
Because I ignored it because it's like, well, because I haven't done anything naughty. So
Of course you have.
So
No.
I'm going to worry about, go ahead, mate.
Yeah.
But yeah, although there is a function actually on, I think on Google, which can tell
Yeah.
you
Yes.
a list of all accounts and things that have been compromised.
It's quite alarming when I look. It comes
Yeah,
up
I'd
with
never done that
30
before,
or
and I looked, and
40.
it was like, oh my god, big organisations and everything. But just everybody, just a tip, just check that. But there you go.
Yeah.
But that's even a big gaming company like Nintendo is subject to.
Well, it's not insignificant.
No.
And, it's the same old advice, isn't it? Change your passwords regularly. Don't use real words. And if you can, use two-factor authentication, because you've only got yourself to blame if you don't.
Although if you're like me, you've got old phones that you give to your son, and then the the two-factor authentication works on the other phone, and every time I go in, I don't get a message on my current phone, and it's my son somewhere who keeps getting these confirm.
I know. It's,
Right. Okay. Let's transition back to our lovely phases. I get the next story. So that's quite interesting. Okay. So finally today on the news front here is that Epic. I'm okay with that. So Fortnite owners Epic finally has sort of given up the battle against Google Play Store. This one was in the Guardian here. So for those that don't know, very briefly, Fortnite was never an app on the Google Play Store like every other app in the world to play. So what you had to do is you had to go to the Epic site, download the software, and effectively side-load it onto your Android phone, because Epic didn't want to agree to the terms of having an app on the Google Play Store. So they found a workaround. And what you'd have to do is you'd have to switch off. There's a sort of a selection in your Android phone where you can go, so it only downloads things from the Google App Store. But if you switch it off, you can download other stuff. And it was basically, that's what you had to do. But as I understand it, Google basically shut that avenue down. So this is not some kind of compromise. This is Fortnite had no choice, basically, because Google basically shut the door on the side loaning it. And so basically it says here, after 18 months of operating Fortnite on Android outside of the Google Play Store, we've come to the basic realization, Epic said in a statement, Google puts software downloadable outside of Google Play at a disadvantage through technical and business measures such as scary, repetitive security pop-ups for download and updated software, restrictive manufacturer and carrier agreements and dealings, blah, 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 it goes on. So they've basically been forced to accept that the only way to really get an app and have a game on Google is to make sure your app is in the store. So they've had to just compromise. So I don't think this is a sort of a softening of the tension between Google and Epic. I think it's they just don't have a choice, and yeah, Android is a massive platform, so if they're not on there, they're going to lose out. It's just that the way that they used to do it has been shut down. So yeah, so there we go.
Are you a big Fortnite player?
I am not a big Fortnite player. I think I've mentioned before. My son is. And I think we've discussed how they can just build a tower in like a split second, like, and it's like what? And yeah, so that's why I always like PUBG. There's no building in that; it's just creeping around, hiding and shooting. Whereas Fortnite, it's all this building. I hate it.
I guess it's a natural if you think about the kind of evolution of a young gamer. So you've got your Minecraft, which is building all that stuff, but you don't shoot things. Well, you can, but zombies. And then you move to Fortnite, where you still have the Minecrafty build stuff, but you get to shoot people.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, Fortnite came out was actually because of PUBG, really.
Yes,
PUBG,
that was the daddy.
That was the led the way. It was built, I think, on the Epic engine or whatever. And they just thought, wait a minute, we could do that. We've got a game called Save the World, which was more of a horde type thing, battle the zombies, the hordes. And so they just made it as a free to play sort of DLC to Save the World, and then so of course
Oh,
nobody
right.
actually bought Fortnite Save the World, which is the original game, and just got the free Fortnite, the Battle Royale game.
I didn't know that. Of
Yeah,
course, in our day, it was Save the Whale, which was
not
a much
Save, yeah, Fortnite Save the Whale. No,
it
it's
was a
Fortnite
much
Save the
much
World.
more
Yeah,
sedate occupation, walking up and down with placards and old ladies.
it was basically an opportunity they jumped on.
Didn't know that. That's actually really interesting. Ah,
Ah, Resurrector
what?
says here Google were also raising funds via an investment round, so going into the Google store had to be done to make the potential of the business look good. Yeah, Omultrix says it could put developers off Stadia if they operate similarly with in-game purchases there.
If
I see what
Fortnite,
you mean. If yeah, so I think the thing about Stadia is I would imagine that if you consider it's like a virtual console,
hmm
therefore the same business rules or terms that you might get, or similar business terms that you might get with Xbox, where Xbox gets a royalty for every game that's sold on the Xbox. PlayStation gets a royalty for every game that's sold on the PlayStation,
yeah,
and Stadia will get a royalty for every, and they will be much of a muchness, as they say, similar to each other. Obviously, there's the advantage of not having hard copies; it's all digital, so there's no kind of manufacturing elements to take into place. So that share might be slightly different in a digital format, but generally, that's how that works. So it's not like it's not quite like the Google Play. So basically, what
no,
I'm saying is that the developers and publishers will basically be entering in a very similar agreement to have their games on Stadia as they
mhm.
would be with Xbox and PlayStation. I mean, there may be some other thing around the outside, but generally the royalty system per game sold, that kind of thing
It's very similar.
would apply, would
Yeah,
be
yeah.
very similar. So
I
I don't think it's an
imagine.
unfriendly business model that they're looking. And as I said earlier about EA, um, if you're a publisher, this is like the first time a big console, a new console, has come on the market. So it's a growth area in a market which is effectively stagnant. All you can do is just sell new consoles every 5 years,
Mm,
and then hope that everybody rebuys all the games or new
mm,
games, and you have to keep developing new games, so they keep buying your consoles. But you're never going to grow that market much more than that
no.
until another console, another avenue to sell your games comes along, and that's what Stadia is doing, and that's what Amazon Prime will do as well.
hmm
Amazon, sorry, Project Tempo from Amazon will do
hmm
as well. So
hmm
it's opening up new markets, but equally your old markets are going to shrink. So you've got to be on the new boat because your old boat is sinking.
Yeah, barnacled.
Yeah, barnacled. That's what I was talking about computers, wasn't I earlier?
Yeah, yeah.
Barnacled. Yeah.
Talking of which, Clive, I have to say, I've not noticed any hiccuping from your end. It's been the most beautiful experience.
Thank you.
It's almost as if you've got a new PC.
It is almost as though I have a content creator specific computer.
It
It
looks like
feels
it's me.
lovely.
It's been a whole new experience.
Yeah. Ulmatrix there. I suppose that's why Epic are trying to push their own store with so many free games. Well, exactly, and that's partly it. What Epic did with Fortnite is demonstrate a new way of making revenue from games that was not contemplated within the old models. The old model is you sell a game, the retailer gets X amount, the developer gets a kickback of X amount, the console platform that you're releasing it on gets a royalty as well, and then the publisher makes a profit on top of that. That's the business model, right? You sell the game at 50
Yeah.
quid, and that 50 quid is shared across the various parties involved in the chain. Epic came along and go, no, we'll give away the game free. You're thinking, what are you talking about? You're giving a Fortnite free. Where you make money? You make money by every week coming up with another set of dress me up clothing and cosmetics for your character, and kids going, like I've spent probably 70, 100 quid easy without even thinking about it. Not
And
me, but for my son saying, I really want that I really want that outfit. Oh, I've got to have that. I've got to have that emote. I've got to have that. That pack. Please, Dad. Please, Dad. And that's why they made what 500 million quid or whatever, and they haven't actually sold a single game. Well, they sold Save the World, as I said, but not on any numbers worth worrying about. The reason it's one of the most successful games financially is purely from the cosmetics you can buy. EA have seen that, and that's why they dropped Apex Legends, same model. PUBG has a similar model, though you do have to buy that game. But they've basically opened up a new business model. So the problem then comes: well, how does the console platform share that revenue when previously the revenue was from the sale of the game? How does the platform, get money from sales of in-game purchases? I mean, there's a disconnect there. So they have to be renegotiated, and that's what Epic don't like. They want all that profit for themselves. They don't want to share it, and yet they're using the consoles as a mass platform.
Apparently, revenue last year for Fortnite was $1.8 billion. Not insignificant.
That is all from, because the game is free, so you get it to the mass market.
Micro sales.
And then on average, how much, easily there's probably an average of $50-$60 being spent in a year, like across every single player on average, because some players spend hundreds. So yeah, it's just an interesting business model. But anyway, so that, I think that wraps up the news. The news of the week. Let you know in the chat, what you think about some of those things that we've covered there. Anything of interest and stuff. Be interested to hear your thoughts on that. Yeah, Resurrector says Epic leveraged their position to bring about industry change. Yeah, they took a chance, and it's what, like many things in life, they went in a certain direction, and it paid off. It paid off. There's one thing actually I do want to touch on here actually, very quickly. Interesting article. I'll leave a link later in the description, but I think people should read it really. And it's about divided loyalties. And I'll explain what I mean in a second as I seamlessly transition. So basically, we talked about how I love Xbox. Xbox. I'm an Xbox man. No, I'm a PlayStation man. We're Stadia. And the people have this irrational kind of relationship with their console of choice. There's an interesting article in the Metro here which talks about undivided loyalties, reason and irrationality in the choice of console purchases, a reader's feature. So it says here, a reader is surprised to find people choosing between PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X already, and examines the psychology of their decisions. And then it goes on about why we become so emotionally attracted to certain consoles, and we rely on abstract specifications and names and designs of console or controller rather than the facts of what powers the console, and what's behind the console. It becomes an emotional choice rather than one driven by tech specs. It's one driven by lifestyle choices. In the same way as buying, do you buy a pair of Converse shoes, or do you buy a pair of Nikes? It's
Clark.
Or Clark's, yeah. So I'll leave a link. We won't go into the article, but it was just very interesting because people often talk about the tribalism within the games and stuff. So I just thought I would mention it here. Just thought it was an interesting thing. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. That's the news of the week, as I say. That's very, I think that's very interesting. I'll go back to the chat very quickly here. Epic believes digital storefront should only take a percentage similar to credit card transactions and costs. Yeah, which is completely different to the normal royalty that you'll get if they sold the game. Tresurector, do platforms deserve to take 30% of that 1.8 billion? Interesting. One could argue, from Epic's point of view, not that I want to, that it's better to have a smaller percentage of a larger share than a bigger percentage of a smaller share. So that may well be an argument to say because of our business model, the revenue at 30% is so ridiculously big. We should be giving you a smaller chunk of that, but a smaller percentage of that, but you'll still end up with a shed load of money. So that is an interesting point, Resurrector. I kind of agree with you that when it's better to have, a smaller percentage of a massive number can be bigger than a bigger percentage of a smaller number. That's what I'm trying to say there, anyway. Right, this week now we're going to go here. Blast from the past. Right, shall I go first?
Yes.
Right, so this is a little bit that we like to call Generation Next games, or Blast from the Past, or whatever you want to call it. Higher, lower. All we're going to do is we're going to take a look at games from our past that were particularly interesting or significant, or that we particularly enjoyed playing. Now, my choice this week is this, and I hope I'm going to click on the right bit here.
Not hearing it.
Just take the sound down a bit there. Right, it's who recognises this game?
You mean the one with the text underneath the window?
Oh yeah, that one.
I haven't a clue.
Now I've chosen this clip here because this is the thing. Goldeneye.
Everybody raves about this.
I love Goldeneye.
I never played it.
Well, one thing, first of all, I don't know if you can hear, or if you can hear in the chat, but I was watching this video when he reloads the gun. It's almost as though they're using the same. Serious Sam uses the same assets.
Oh, really?
Sound assets. The sound.
It looks very similar.
The sound is very similar. This is 1997.
Oh.
And it was done by Rare Works, of course, who did Donkey Kong Country, and Rare, of course, gone on, now owned by Microsoft Studios. So Rare were one of the few Western companies that proved to Nintendo that they could make Nintendo-style games, and they had a lot of respect. And Rare Works made GoldenEye here, and there was a story element to it. But the key thing was that you could play co-op 1v1 or 1v3 or whatever. So you could play up to 4-player co-op and basically just run around different rooms trying to shoot each other. And I was in 97, so I was in my 20s-ish. Yeah. And I was sharing a flat with friends in London at the time, I think. And so every Christmas I used to either go back to my parents or my sisters up in Scotland. And her son, my nephew, he was about 10, and he got this game for Christmas. And basically he and I just played this non-stop all Christmas Day. And his mum didn't care. She was fine. We were happy. There's none of this. It was time to go to church. It's time to listen to the Queen's speech. It was just help yourself. We stopped for Christmas dinner, lunch, whatever, and all that. But we just played it all day, and I just thought it was absolutely amazing. And it was a game changer, an absolute game changer. The fact that you just, go around shooting each other.
So was this one of the first multiplayer games then?
Well, it's co-op, so you're not playing online,
right.
Obviously, and so it's split screen. You can't see this, and you'll be watching our YouTube.
Yeah, no, yeah.
And so it had a story mode, which was kind of fun, in that kind of Lara Croft go around shooting people, press the buttons, and do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But this was the main thing, where you just play against your mate. You've got a little radar in the corner, top right-hand corner, So you sort of work out roughly where he is. So a bit like, you know, in Destiny 2 when you're in the Crucible.
Yeah.
You've got the little round radar, and then the red mark appears. So you've got dots, and so yeah, it's like a precursor to that, really.
Right.
But in co-op mode.
Wow.
It really set the benchmark. But I must admit, watching this video back to yesterday, I couldn't help but think that the gun sounds are identical to Serious Sam.
It does look
So
very.
it's almost that they borrowed the same sound from a library or something.
Yes.
Dave Windle says he was at uni and skipped lectures.
I know it's a game that's very deep in people's affections.
Yeah, I think it was a game changer.
Yeah.
So let me know. So Dave
What's it on? What platform was it on, Clive?
It was a Nintendo 64, I want to say.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
Multiplayer.
I didn't
Yeah, it was
really
with the
do anything
64.
with It was. I didn't do any of the Japanese consoles.
Yeah, it just that had that straightforward adrenaline rush of you running around
Yeah.
corners and halls trying to think. Yeah, we see it today, you know, where people play 1v1s in games, exactly the same, but it just felt really cool. I really enjoyed it. So let us know in the chat whether you played Goldeneye. There was another. The franchise went to the James Bond franchise went to EA, and they did some good story ones. You know, I like those James Bond ones that they had out. They don't do them anymore, I don't think. But you know, in that kind of Lara Croft's campaign kind of thing, I quite like those. But GoldenEye was the big one that really got everybody.
Resurrected
especially for a Nintendo game as well, which is usually about Mario or, you know, soft bouncy things. But soft bouncy doesn't really move. But you know what I mean, like more softer games, and then this is like a straightforward co-op. That reload is so much like Serious Sam.
Resurrector's still got his copy, Clive.
Oh,
yeah,
very nice.
Yeah. Do you still get to play it though? This is the question. Have you still got the old kit? Does it get fired up from time to time?
Resurrect, you've still got your N64. I think I've got somewhere in a lock somewhere, but it might have sold it. Like I've still got my Wii and stuff like that.
I was looking today at buying the very thing that my game that we're about to look at ran on, but I was gobsmacked at how much it was, so I decided I'd hang back a bit.
Did you get that other thing we talked about last week?
No, I haven't yet. No, I intend to though. That looks really good.
Because I was thinking you could do live streams on this channel.
I think it's a good idea. Definitely, it's one to invest in.
Right? Do you just want the wiki page here?
Don't worry about the wiki page. I think we'll just go straight to the
there a link? Oh yeah, there is underneath. My bad.
Yeah, there should be two.
Yeah,
it's hidden away. I think
I've got it.
Yeah.
Tell
me when
let me just transition. So this is Rock's choice. Rock, take it away. It's on the YouTube. It's playing.
Oh, this game. So this is Parsec. So as you can see, it's a very simple game. I don't know that you can hear the audio on it because that was what made it special. It's the console was the Texas TI-994A, and that was my absolute P&J. That was my pride and joy, and it was kind of my first full-price piece of kit that actually looked like a computer because it had a keyboard and you put the cartridges in. And because they were cartridges, you know, they actually had a little bit more going on in them than you could get onto a cassette. But the 4A, as opposed to the 4, which Parsec wouldn't run on, had a voice synthesis chip actually embedded into the machine itself.
She's talking, yeah.
She actually talks. Yeah, you can hear that voice.
I could hear it now. You've got that there.
So that was hardware. That was literally on a chip in the kit itself. It wasn't synthesized through software, and that brought a whole level of realism that you didn't get on anything else, because everything else was just beeps and whines and stuff, and this actually had voices. But it was a great game.
Advancing.
It was a great game, and I always remember how sharp it looked as well on the screen. I think whatever the video card was in the box was for the time it was really good, and it just was all the little dots of the pixels were sharp as anything.
So the Texas TI-99 from '82, yeah. So
this game was
game
of '82.
You know, ZX81 or whatever. So
that was right. So '82, I think you and I certainly
Spectrum
left high school
coming out.
in '82. That was my year of leaving high school. So this was back in those days. But yeah, I had a look on eBay earlier because I thought, it still looks gorgeous, and you can see it in our Wikipedia. It's a lovely looking piece of kit, and but they're selling for 120, 150 quid a unit. Now, given the age. And I don't know, you can still get games for them and stuff, but they've got apparently there's a really big sort of fan base for the TI-994A, but you can get free emulator. Pardon?
Probably get a PC emulator for it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There are some great emulators available for all the games, including Parsec. And in fact, because I've got a MacBook. But I'm also running boot camp. So one of the things I was going to do tomorrow was install the emulator and have a few minutes of walking back down memory lane with Parsec. But that was a beautiful game. I loved that.
Resurrector says, did you buy that? Did you buy it in Tandy?
Do you know, I probably did actually, mate, to be fair. I mean, it's a good shout, that. Tandy.
Hello, Stadium Mania, by the way. Sorry if I missed you there.
Yes. No, Tandy. It could have been Dixon's. It may have been online.
Carvel's, which was like a department store, but it had a big electronic section.
A number of places. All of them have gone, sadly.
Wow, that's very, very interesting. He says, as he just hits the transition there. Right, there we go. Well, that's cool. I think that brought back a lot of memories, but I did not know about the dedicated speech chip there. But you could hit I thought, who's that talking? And then I turned it up slightly, and it had that synthesized voice, which, as I think Resurrector said here, is amazing to hear a voice in a game of that era.
Age, absolutely. It was literally the chip itself, and I think it had a male and female voice as well. So
Lulatrix says, "Brilliant." Yeah, Resurrection's hearing speech in that 8-bit era was always amazing. Yeah,
absolutely was. It was mind blowing. Yeah, it really felt like you'd moved forward in tech. It was really good. So that was that, mate. I'm brought a little tear to my eye. I'll be honest with you.
Brandon, lovely to see you. Maybe we will make you a bit of mod. Maybe we'll make you
a mod. I made Brandon a mod on my channel.
I saw that.
Yeah, he's very good.
I'm tempted to get him to help me out.
He's very helpful. Everybody's awesome, but that's not a problem because they typically are.
Yeah, of course they are.
Yeah, but it does a good job.
Everybody's awesome. So I think that's it. We're going to do that other feature. We've got another feature, and I think we'll do that next week, definitely. The other one you mentioned. We've been on.
Keep it to ourselves.
We've done an hour. We're going to bring you some, so I hope you enjoyed the show there. Next week, we'll bring you more news and views and more games from the past. Let us know if you like those bits. Maybe we can, we should do more on the games of the past if that's what you like. Let us know. This whole podcast can evolve and adapt to the audience's needs, as they say. But I hope you enjoyed the show. Let us know as well. Give us some ideas of games you may have played that we sort of... David Handley said he was born in 1980.
Yeah,
get out of here. That makes you. I looked it up actually. That makes you. Do you realize that it makes you a millennial?
Yes. He's not a Gen X.
I looked that up today for Rap Gaming, who was saying what is a millennial.
Oh, really?
1981 to 96, something like that, or 97.
Okay, he'd be.
The idea is that your young childhood is in the noughties.
But I think
young adulthood, is in the noughties.
Raf's a millennial, though, isn't he?
He would have to be born in 97, before 97.
Before 97, that's what, 20.
So that your 20s, late teens, 20s are in the noughties.
Raf's in his 20s.
Might qualify then.
He's a lot older than he looks. He's almost as old as you.
You're all welcome. You just I don't. Does it overlap? Does Dave Handy overlap? Or is it? Did I say?
It's
It was
82. I think it's up to 81, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh dear.
Just missed out. But you know what?
Pasadena, you're welcome.
We're not prejudicial.
I'm all the tricks. Yeah, ZX Spectrum. See, I never.
Yes.
I don't think
my favourite year of all
Did
time.
I get one? Or my dad wouldn't upgrade his. I've got you a ZX81. What do you expect? I'm not going to get a ZX82, ZX83, ZX84.
71. I'm still beating you, Daz. Still beating you, mate. 77 was my favourite year. I loved that year. We had a heat wave. We had, I think, Star Trek, Star Wars.
Nostalgia now, isn't it? Like the summer, the long hot summer of '77.
And Punk. We had Star Wars. Oh, it was a good year.
Yeah, it was. Star Wars released in '76, but in the UK,
it didn't. Yeah,
77.
The UK didn't come out till '77, and we used to get that a lot. We used to get big periods of time before we got movies.
Yeah, 6 months sometimes.
Yeah.
I
always remember Jaws. That was quite a lot later. Alien.
Yeah.
When those films came out, we didn't. Yeah.
Dad had a ZX81. Now you made me feel super old.
My dad is 81. If that helps.
I bought a special keyboard for my ZX81.
Did you?
Yeah, because it had that pressure pad
rubber thing.
Not like ZX Spectrum had the rubber keys.
Oh yes,
that went down.
just
ZX81 had like a pressure pad thing. But you could buy an actual keyboard, a QWERTY keyboard, and you take your ZX81 apart and you put it you screw it into the keyboard, attach the ribbon, and then you had a proper tippy tappy keyboard and a slot at the back for your 16K memory expansion. Get in.
Do you still not have a ZX81 in your cupboard somewhere?
No. I think I had a whole ton of stuff in my old parents' house, and then it all got taken to the tip or auction or whatever when they passed away. So pretty. Yeah, I always regret it because I had a whole vinyl collection in there and stuff.
Oh wow. Oh, that's.
But at the time, it was like, whatever. But then now, I kind of like, oh no! Plus my school books and all that just would have been really interesting. Although it just means I would just be hoarding them and up somewhere in my loft.
Yeah,
so there's an argument.
But we're allowed to hang on to memories.
I'm all at tricks of the DK Tronics keyboard for the ZX81. Yeah, there is a guy. There's a YouTuber who, no disrespect to him, but looks super nerdy. But look up ZX81 and he does a piece on it, and he's still got his old one, and he's got that keyboard that you're talking about, and there's the one I had. He was just talking about it. If you're interested, I might leave a link in the description. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you had a great show today. It was lovely to see everybody here again. As I say, I hope you enjoyed the show. We certainly had fun talking about the news. Lovely. And we always have fun just seeing which game from the past each of us is going to bring. We have a rough idea because we see it in the script, but we don't know, obviously, the background to that game and the significance to, either Adam or I at the time. So it's always very interesting and it's quite refreshing. I'm always excited to see what game is it going to be this week. And I hope you feel the same. I want to say thank you. Make sure you press like. If you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Really appreciated it. Helps the channel. Tell your friends about it, man. Let's get those subs up. We're a brand new YouTube channel. This isn't on Stadia Rock's channel or Adam's channel. This isn't on Michael Ivor channel. This is a brand new individual channel, so we need all the subs we can get. So share the love, as they say. Adam?
Yes, thank you ever so much, everybody, for popping in. You're absolutely beautiful. You were ready for that one, are we? Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Generation X. Oh.
Did you? I can't see you. I'm going to fix this next week, Clive.
So I'm looking at the trail. We'll do it again. I wasn't looking at the.
Right. Okay.
OBS. Ready?
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Generation X. Yeah, we did it. That's right. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you around.
It will get better.
Yay.
Take care, guys.